Good evening, everybody.
Where is
I'd like to welcome you all here tonight, and it's good to see a packed house. This is local government, and your participation is greatly appreciated. We proceed every council meeting with a prayer and pledge of allegiance. If you'd like to join me, please do so. Father in heaven, we bow humbly in your presence, Lord, thanking you for your greatness and your might, acknowledging you as God. We pray, Lord, that your blessings upon our endeavors tonight, Lord, that you would guide us and help us to do what is right in your eyes. These things we pray in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This meeting is in order. Mr. Garrett, call the roll, please.
Mr. Hawkins?
Here.
Mr. Grimes?
Here.
Miss Mel?
Here.
Mr. Ledbetter? Here. Miss Smith?
Here.
Miss Isby?
Here.
We have a couple of council members tonight that are ill. One's running a little bit late, still tied up on the job, but hopefully we'll have everyone here shortly. Okay, you should have received copies of the January 10th, 2017 council minutes. Are there any corrections or changes?
Make a motion to approve.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes 8-0.
6.
I'm sorry, Mr. Hawkins, thank you.
Just making sure.
Does that. Every month, we like to recognize our employees on their anniversary dates with the city. We have some, I was looking at the guys that are out here. I hired some of them, so I feel like I'm giving an award to some of my kids. Chief Ledbetter, would you like to come out here with me? Because you helped me hire some of these guys.
I'm going up to St. Charles microphone.
Okay. From the Conway Police Department, he's unable to attend tonight. We have SRO officer, Sean Julian. I worked with Sean today, and met with Sean yesterday, I'm sorry, at one of the schools with his K-9 unit. Listen, the K-9 unit is a tough act to follow with school kids. He does a really good job with it. Sean, who's been with us 5 years, firefighter Evan Bauer. Evan, bring your family up here.
How cute.
Gotcha.
10 years service, officers unable to attend, Officer Chris Buss, Officer Jason Brown, and Engineer Kobe Lester with the Conway Fire Department. We have Officer Joseph Bowling here, Conway Police Department. Come on, man. These are the guys you see riding, bring your family up.
Yeah.
All
These are the
right.
guys you see riding on the.
Like it is.
Till he stops you.
You need a helmet like that.
Oh, how cute.
All right, Engineer Michael Felton. Years of service, Lieutenant Lloyd Smith, Conway Police Department. These folks all do a great job, and so do their families. I gotta quit taking my glasses off, sir. We need to recognize 25 years of service, Laura Hodges with the Conway Police Department.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. She's a doll. Oh, my girl is. Congratulations.
Thanks, man.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. Good.
Thank you.
My glasses back on. Okay, we'll move on to our monthly financial reports, ending with December 31st, 2016. I'll let Mr. Winningham go for this, and if he has any questions, he's the man.
This is going to be December, so you've got a whole year's worth of numbers to look at here. I was unable to make the meeting for the November statement, so we've gone straight from October to December. There's going to be quite a few changes here that you may have noticed. I also missed the meeting when Andy was here to present the 15 audit. I know he mentioned some big changes to you related to our pension disclosures and some other things, and some of those items you will see reflected going forward in our monthly financials. Starting with the general fund and the revenue section, our sales tax, you can see we just barely missed our budget number there. It's not over yet. That number includes 2 estimates for our January and February collections, which will actually be for the year 2016. So hopefully those actuals will come in a little bit better than what I've estimated. I've been pretty conservative with those estimates. The bottom line there, transfers from other funds, $2 million. One of the things they did in the 15 audit was if y'all remember when we were back doing all of our activity with FAA and the new airport, we were paying those bills out of the general fund. The general fund was covering those bills until the FAA reimbursed us. Auditors took all that activity out of the general fund, moved it over into the airport fund. So what this represents here, and it's not the total $2 million, it's about 1.6 of it. It's money that we received in 2016 from the FAA and from the state for those grants, and it's the airport fund paying it back to the general fund. Because y'all remember we were having to front a lot of those bills, and it was the general fund that was covering it. So they just made a book entry to reflect that coming out of the general fund. So now as we get these grant receipts, those are going to be transfers coming back into the general fund to replenish it. So it's you can see with our bottom line at 2.2 million is a good number, but it's a little bit inflated for those transfers back over. But still, overall, it looks like 2016 was going to be a pretty good year for us in the general fund. Any questions or comments on the general fund before we move forward? Street funds, the next one we look at each month. Everything's pretty quiet here. Net deficit for the year, but we were expecting that. We had a big outlay back early on in the year with our Dave Ward project going on with the roundabouts and trying to improve traffic through there in partnership with the highway department. Any other questions or comments on the street fund? Moving on to sanitation. Sanitation, we hit our revenue numbers almost right on the money for our sanitation fees. Had a good year from the sale of recyclables. You'll see there, $560,000 received compared to $400,000 budget. Down in the expenditure section, you'll notice for the month activity and other operating costs, that's a big number, $3.3 million. That represents the transfer of the sanitation funds to the airport fund to make that note payment that we did at the end of the year. So that was a $3 million transfer we made, and you'll see in the airport section that $3 million coming in. So that revenue expenditure-wise ended up sanitation fund in a deficit for the year, but they were, cash-wise, they were very healthy prior to that, so nothing to be alarmed about there. I'll point out some things to you on the sanitation balance sheet. We have some new accounts there that y'all haven't seen before. In the asset section, we've got the deferred outflows of resources. Liability section, we've got a deferred inflows and a net pension obligation. The new pension requirements are not required to be shown in the general fund because it's a governmental fund. They are required to be shown on the sanitation fund because it's a proprietary fund. So you see now we've got a big net pension obligation there, $9.2 million. That represents essentially the sanitation employees and the pension that's owed to them based on actuarial assumptions and projections. And then those other two numbers, the deferred outflows and inflows, are related to that as well. It gets to be a lot of moving parts dealing with actuarial assumptions based on actual results. So I won't get into the mechanics and the details of those, but those are some new line items that you'll see each month going forward now. And those won't change but once a year. At the end of the year when we go and get our audit done, those numbers will change based on that year's activity. Anything else on sanitation before we move forward? Next one up is airport. As expected, we didn't quite hit our budget number in fuel sales, but fuel sales compared to the fuel we purchased was a very profitable year for us. And we mentioned this, in our budget discussions and other discussions as well. It's just the reason those numbers didn't hit budget was just for the price of gas this year. The price of gas was down compared to what we budgeted for, but our volume sales continued to be pretty strong through the year. You'll see in the revenue section there that transfer from other funds, $3 million. That's the sanitation transfer that we talked about just a little bit earlier. You'll see in the expenditure section, we've got capital outlay expenditures, but no budget for that. That's another result of moving everything, all the airport activity out of the general fund to the airport fund. We've had just a few bills come in 2016, finishing up our FAA projects and our State Department of Aeronautics projects. Those bills are being paid for out of the airport fund, and then as those grants get closed out, we'll get revenue to reimburse us for those. Looking at the airport balance sheet, you'll see now we've got land, buildings, machinery, and equipment in the assets section, along with vehicles, infrastructure, construction in progress. That's all the assets that are at the airport are now reflected on the airport's financial statements. And then you'll see the bottom two numbers there in the liability section are accrued interest payable, and the notes payable represents the loan for Central Landing. So that's going to be now reflected on the face of the airport balance sheet. And you can see it's the notes payable. Note payable sits at $2,750,000 after we pay down the $3 million in December at the end of the year. Any questions or comments on airport?
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the report. Any discussion?
Can I go over the project funds?
Can?
If you don't mind.
Sure. Last page of the financials gives numbers for our major project funds. Those include our Parks and Rec A&P tax, also known as the hamburger tax. At the end of the year, it was at just over $2 million. Our pay-as-you-go sales tax, which is a quarter cent of the 1 3/4 city sales tax that goes to fund our major street projects and then buys police vehicles each year. That account was sitting at $3.6 million at the end of the year, and I'll wait for the train. Then the last two accounts are impact fee accounts. We've got a street impact fee account and a parks impact fee account. Street set at just under $700,000, and our parks impact fee was just a little over $360,000. And those are actual cash balances at the end of the year. That's money in the bank. Good.
Your short-term report then would be our situation as we start 2017 is?
Good.
Thank you very much.
We're in good shape.
Wanted you to say that.
Okay, now we'll entertain a motion.
Oh, we already have one.
All right. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor of approving this report, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 6-0. Thank you, Mr. Winningham.
And Mayor, I would like to, with the large crowd here due to some of the rezonings, Mr. Crafton's rezoning and Mitch Hart's rezoning, could I suspend the rules, ask council members to suspend the rules and move those up on the agenda tonight?
Fine with me.
Motion and second. All approved?
Yes.
All right. So we will scoot up. Let's see, Mr. Crafton, I think you're first up. And Mr. Hawkins, I'm sorry, you will be taking over at this point.
That's okay, Mr. Mayor. The first thing on the agenda, since we have moved it up, is an ordinance to rezone property located at Donald Ridge and Madison Road from A1 to R1 to a PUD. And this, I'm going to get my notes real quick since we have jumped out of order.
I'm I'm sorry.
That's
That's okay.
Number
Just giving you a heads up.
A9.
This was reviewed by the Planning Commission at their meeting on the 17th of January, and at that time, the commission voted 10-0 that the request be forwarded to City Council with a recommendation of approval, subject to PUD final development plan conditions and staff recommendations, and those are listed there. There are 10 development plan conditions, and then some suggested conditions to allow the PUD, and those 3 items are listed there. So, Mr. Crafton, I will hush and I'll let you talk to
I'll
us.
just try to make it short and sweet. We had 2 public hearings, met with the neighborhood, and then we had a meeting in the Planning Commission. Our stated goal, we've made some adjustments on it. We've moved all the duplexes toward Dave Ward. We cut down the number of duplexes, and then, but there's some of the things that are on that'll be part of the PUD. We'll also have covenants restrictions like you do in any subdivision. Something that I've promised the neighbors, the duplexes will be under the same covenants restrictions, the same. I'm going to try to do something totally different. Every duplex will look different. They'll be trying to look like a home. Part of what we're going to have that'll be enforced by the city, not covenants restrictions, trying to assure everybody, calm everyone that there'll be quality theirs. For instance, the only thing that's going to be allowed to be on there is brick, rock, and hardy board. You can't have more than 60% hardy board on your structure. No vinyl siding except up high, like on a dormer, or you can have shingles, or they make a vinyl shingle and everything, but there won't be any vinyl siding on any of the homes or duplexes. I really didn't realize we were going to have a public. I guess I should have known that, but and y'all have the list there. But one of the main things is we agreed to all the duplexes and the homes will have a minimum of a 10-12 pitch roof. And for the people that are in the building trade or know a little bit about it, that ensures a different look. A lot of your normal duplexes are 6-12. So this will have a totally different look. The homes will have the higher roofs, pitch. You got to have a architectural shingle or metal roofing on the main structures with a 10-12 pitch on the main structure. The porches are excluded from that. We agreed as a developer, we're going to do all brick walls and entrances all along Madison and Donald Ridge on the exterior. For the neighbors that back up to it, we're going to do an 8-foot wood fence. We're going to give them the nice looking side of the fence. We agreed to do that on everything that adjoins London Lane homes, and we're going to do it there on anything that on the Church Drive on the very north end. All the fencing will be facing on the outside. We're going to do very similar to Hendricks Village. The developer will be responsible when the homes are built to come in and put they call them the planning department, I think, calls them street trees, where we'll have between the sidewalk and the street, we'll have the same kind of trees planted in front of every home. We've agreed to do that. No snout houses. We've agreed that there's some people don't like a garage protruding out on a home further than the front of the home. So we agreed that none of the single-family homes will have, unless the garage is a courtyard type garage a side entry garage. None of the garages will protrude out past the front of the house. All countertops, the kitchen will be granite or a solid surface top. That duplex is included. Like I said, this is duplexes and the single-family homes.
What's your thinking about no coffered ceilings or box ceilings or tray ceilings on here?
That you'll just have a minimum of a 9-foot ceiling, I think is what we put in there. Is there something stated about coffers?
Yeah, it says no boxed or tray or coffered ceilings in here.
I don't know where that came from, so that was never discussed.
Yeah.
We'll have a minimum of a 9-foot ceiling,
Mm-hmm.
so if someone wanted to have a 9-foot ceiling and have a box ceiling, so that was some wording I hadn't
Something we
seen, to be
could-
honest.
Okay.
So,
We could take her down.
I don't
if we
think
need
that was
to.
ever
I mean,
even
I think
discussed.
those are really pretty. I mean,
yeah, those were never discussed, you know. As long as you have a 9-foot ceiling, you can have a
Yeah.
cathedral ceiling or anything, but you'll have a minimum of a 9-foot ceiling.
Okay.
What else is mentioned there on that? Should have brought a list.
I think you got
That I
just
didn't
about
get.
all
I
of it.
think you covered everything else, yeah.
For someone that doesn't understand the size of the lots, if you've been to Nolan Cove off of, this will be real similar to that as far as density, except the houses and duplexes will be 5 foot further back from the street curb. So,
What is the minimum square footage of the single family?
honestly, I guess we ain't even said that. I met with some builders. I've had very good feedback from that. I met with some realtors. I've had more individuals ask me about trying to. I stated before it when I first started this, I was shooting to have homes at $200,000 to be able to build a home at $200,000. Now, if someone wants to build a $300,000, I'm for them, but we'd love to fill it up with $300,000. But after visiting with the builders, the realtors, putting everything they're telling me $225,000 homes are going to probably be the low point going up, which is fine. But I'd love to be able to build a 225. I think the market's there. There's places for $350,000 homes, 400. There's just right now not a lot of places to build a home, $225,000 to $250,000.
Will there be a separation between the duplexes and the single family with a brick wall or?
There was. We had them completely separated,
Yeah.
but when we moved them all, and honestly, I'm not sure we're going to build all the duplexes that we've got. I asked that the lots that are can either be a single family or duplex because I didn't want to have a home on one side of the street and a duplex on the other, so I wanted to try to have that done. But there won't be a separate entrance and all that. In the original, there was, but trying to move them all to Dave Ward, our street configuration wouldn't allow it. So.
I like your Royal Oaks when you built it and you had the patio homes there in
Mm-hmm.
the middle and kind of separated, but you had part of the neighborhood.
Right. But this will be real similar in density to there if you've been to Nolan Cove. And trying to think what else.
I've got a question, maybe Brian or Hal. The list of conditions here, 8 and 9, you mentioned the 9-foot ceilings, we talked about Mary, and then granite countertops. Typically, neighbors in the city are concerned about the exterior, but
Right.
the interior, what's this interior?
Trying to calm everybody that they're going to be expensive, nice homes. Just a lot of people are afraid this could turn into a cheap subdivision. You know, so.
Well, I would add, the 9-foot ceiling actually does affect the exterior of the home.
Yeah, it does.
This is a higher, more traditional look, so that is an
Okay.
exterior feature. I mean, it's specified as interior, but it actually does raise the
Yeah,
exterior.
I get that.
And if you're the only builder, this one builder building all the houses and you know what they're going to look like, but when you've got a hodgepodge of people building, you just want to make sure that everybody stays in keeping with what the spirit of the neighborhood's supposed to be and what's supposed to look like, I think is. I
Hal,
make a
anything else
motion. I
right
make a
now?
motion to waive the readings.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to waive the readings. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, passes 6-0.
And
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, do we want to
hear anybody else?
hear anyone else that might want to say yay or nay to this particular item? If there's someone that would like to speak to this particular item, feel free to come forward at this time. Please give us your name, where you live, and we'll give you a couple of minutes if you'd like to talk. Sure, come right on.
This is not my forte, so bear with me. I thought when I saw the police here tonight, this must be a rough crowd, so I was happy to see we were just recognizing people. My name is Audrey Bibbs. My property will be backing up to what will be phase 2 of this development. And I'd like to say first, I'm not anti-development. I really am excited about this area being developed because if you've had a chance to go through this area, this is currently has dilapidated homes and some burnouts and things like that, and really does need to have some improvement done. My problem is more with the density of the project. When I saw a planned unit development proposed, and there was a meeting, and we went to those things, I didn't know what it was, so I had to do a little research on that. And what I saw online and what was available for research was quite nice. I was very impressed and thought, yes, I would live that in our area. When I went to the meeting, however, other than the aesthetics of what he was building, because I know he'll build a great product, I wasn't impressed with the actual layout of what he had proposed. It is very dense. There are a lot of homes in this. I think it's 28 duplexes and then 60 homes, which will make about 116, I think, 112 actual families in this area. If you're familiar with Madison, it's a very worn out road. It needs some work. Brian has told us, yes, it does need work. It's not slated to even be considered for work, I believe, until 2018. And then it's probably at least going to be a couple of years because there's so many other areas that are worse. But considering that, the exits, there will be 3 for this subdivision, will be onto Madison. And in this short amount of space, there's not going to be there's ditches on each side. So right now it's not lined. It's not a good road. It's in disrepair. And it's not going to have the sidewalks they're supposed to be in the neighborhoods now. This also is going to be where the future high school is planning on being, over the hill from this location. So this is going to be a hotbed. It's going to be very, very dense and a lot of traffic in this small little place. And I know that it's going to be developed, but my thinking is if there's a little bit less, or for phase 2 and phase 3 through this, there's actually a road that goes up to Dave Ward. If we could go ahead and extend that out somehow, so that all of this traffic is not going to be funneled through one area. I actually have looked up the plan unit development requirements on your site, as you know, per your rules. And when I went through them, I didn't see where he met all the criteria to actually do this. The roads, of course, need to be improved, and that's not supposed to happen. You know, if they need at public expense, it shouldn't happen unless he's going to provide some way to pay part of it. And as far as I know, he's not. Another thing is the sidewalks can't go down Madison or Donnell Ridge because the roads aren't going to be improved anytime soon. Another big thing within the actual development is the common space. And then the common space in a development is supposed to be something of a gazebo or pavilion or ponds, things like that, which this property actually holds 3 ponds, but they're going to be filled in. The green space that's required in this is 20% of the development, which I think this is 20 acres, so that would mean 4 acres of this would need to be actually green space. And if any of you are familiar with this at all, if you've had a chance to look at it on a map, he's got one lot, lot 9, which is, I think, 0.35 of an acre designated for green space. So this is very dense in population and doesn't fit the ideal for a PUD at all. He says in future development in phase 2 and phase 3 that there will be more green space and maybe possibly a common area. I don't know if he's committed to that or not, but I don't really like to live on speculation that will actually happen. So as my property backs up to this, I'm just seeing rows and rows and rows of densely populated area, not a nice development that's cohesive and looks good with the neighborhood. Brian and his staff actually passed this with a recommendation that it's compatible with the surrounding area. I don't think it's compatible with our surrounding area. This is currently zoned A1 and R1, which A1 means we have 2 families with some livestock, one lady with horses, another lady with chickens, and they're going to be backing up to this. So he has agreed to build a fence, which is nice. We asked for brick, we got wood, but I still don't think it's going to make a nice surrounding area. If you actually overlay this on the map of the city, you will see like this very hot spot of this densely populated area, and then everything around it is spread out, which is what we have. So I'm asking you to reconsider. I don't want it to not be developed. I know he's going to develop it, and I want something nice there. So my thought was, can we kick it back to the Planning Commission and do some work?
Thank you, Ms. Bibbs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Mr. Mayor, do we want to talk about street? Oh, yeah, does anybody else want to speak? I'm sorry.
Brian? Oh, somebody else wanting to.
Mr. Mayor, my name's Kent Mathis. I live at 1050 Madison Road. Personally, I'm for the project. Because that property, I've been living there I bought the property in 1985, so I've been living there quite a while. But the property across the street, Madison, that was probably a pretty hard deal to get worked out to purchase it. So that 50 acres, it's going, whether he develop it or somebody's going to develop it. It's too central to Conway. And I think Hal's going to do a good job. The thing I wanted to bring to your attention is that Madison Road, when they start the construction on it, it's really going to become bad shape. Because it's not built and designed to hold up for those concrete trucks and stuff. That doesn't bother me. It's just make sure we get it on the list to get fixed when the subdivision does get built. And all the people that face Madison Road, which is myself and the other 7 houses down the road, none of us have sewer. And we're supposed to be in the Hal said several times in our meeting that Dave Ward is now the center of Conway. Well, it's kind of sad that we don't have that utility available for us. So my request is, if there's possible, so I've talked to the Conway Corp, and they're supposed to be working with us, but it would be nice if, when he develops this subdivision, if the residents on the opposite side of Madison Road could be considered to be able to figure out a way that we could tie in for the city sewer. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mathis. Anybody else? Mr. Mayor, I don't see anyone else that wants to speak to this particular item, and I think that they have brought up an item that City Council and your office in particular is going to at least campaigned on, and that is improving roads around here. And this might be the poster child for this part of town.
Mr. Vincent will be bringing his the new program that we put in place. He'll be bringing that to the council. Mr. Vincent, the next first or second council meeting in February.
We can do it at the first one in February.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that. So we'll have a better idea, Mr. Hawkins, of where we need to go.
Very good.
Yes, streets are important to me.
Yeah, and since you're still kind of new, you might want to move your microphone just a little bit closer to you.
I'm doing my best not to.
Hey, I'm just trying to make sure the folks in the back can hear you.
Can y'all hear me?
Brian, maybe to get to a few things that were brought up. As he builds homes, or whoever builds homes, they will be paying street impact fees, right, on these homes?
Right.
Okay, so money will go into the coffers for street improvements, not necessarily for Madison Road, but street impact fees will be paid.
Right.
Okay, all right. Now, there's mention of phase 1, 2, and 3. Maybe this is for Hal. The rezoning is for all 3 phases? Are you going to come back later with some more? Or is this all 3 phases to be rezoned?
No, this is just phase 1,
Okay.
and I've committed that the rest of this property that which was the Union Baptist Church property, I'll zone R1, and it's going to take me, if approved by this, it'll take me 10 months to build the subdivision. Within the next couple months, if it's all right, I'll come in and zone the rest of the Madison Road property R1.
Okay.
And
You already
that way
own that property?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That way it'll calm all the fears of what could happen.
Yeah, Brian or Hal, where, they're talking about another road out to Dave Ward, where would that be roughly on this?
That it comes out right next to Central Baptist Church.
Okay.
There's a little wooded area, 50-foot strip that included with this property.
Is that something that could be built sooner rather than later?
Well, it'd be probably $250,000 to get it put in without any lots, if
Yeah.
that makes sense. So,
Okay.
something that, there will be a sidewalk. What we said, we probably won't build the sidewalk because I don't think there's room with the open ditches, but I would pay the sidewalk fee in lieu of, and then when the road does get improved, there will be sidewalks. So the only reason we're not building sidewalks is because it's almost impossible because of the
I
open
understand
ditches.
that. Well, this road, it needs improved. I mean, as several others, this road needs improved now, but after any development there, it's really going to need to be improved.
But we'll be paying parks and something that Brian's probably going to answer. All these lots are going to have almost normal backyards.
Yeah.
So that is where the green space is included in part of that. But I will come, I'll give you my word, and way before this plat gets approved, I'll be in here in the next couple of months and just go ahead and zone the rest of the property R1, where you don't have to worry about any more density than whatever R1 allows.
Yeah.
So.
And I agree, it certainly makes sense to wait until construction's over and people want to tie into sewers or whatever they want to do before we finish or even start Madison Road rebuild. But it's something definitely put on the, near the top of the list. So, okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for me?
Well, I was
think I'm
going to
okay.
just ask you, Brian, about some of the points that she had brought up in regards to some of the things that she said didn't actually meet our requirements for PUD, if you would speak to those.
Okay, well, we talked about sidewalks,
Right.
road improvements, we've talked about that. That was one of the other points. The other one, I guess, Hal mentioned a little bit, is green space.
Okay.
PUD requires 20% green space. Years ago, it used to require like 20% set off to the side, and that really kind of created problems because we've got like some blank spots around town that are just
Right.
fallow and they don't really serve any purpose. So we revised the PUD regulations to say 20%, like our development review regulations, basically it's 20% of permeable space. So yards count in this instance. So the 20, it's well over 20%. It's just not in a common park area. It's in the yards of the development itself.
That's why I just wanted that known so that it didn't appear that we were approving some type of development that didn't actually meet our requirements.
Right.
I make a motion.
Just a minute. Mr. Hawkins, I think Mr. Vincent wants to say something.
Sure.
Since there were questions about Madison, I was just going to bring up that since I do have the survey back already, I can say that road on a scale of 0 to 100 is a 33, which I would call serious. The section south of that, though, which is Nutter Chapel, is a 20, and that's lower on the list. It's labeled as critical.
So the lower the number, the more critical.
That's correct.
Wow.
65 is your breakover point.
That's something like that, yeah. So what that means is that road, an overlay wouldn't fix that road. It'd have to be completely rebuilt.
Yeah.
You're talking about from Dave Ward to Donald Ridge?
That's correct. That section's a 33 out of 100.
Okay, and then from south of Donald Ridge, it's 20?
It's a 20.
So there's no question it's going to have to be rebuilt?
Correct. It's falling apart.
Okay.
Along with the others. I make a motion for adoption of the ordinance, and I would like to, on item number 8, go in and strike the no box or tray and coffered ceilings in with that.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett?
Mr. Hawkins?
Yes.
Mr. Grimes?
Aye.
Mr. Ledbetter?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Ms. Isby?
Yes.
Ms. Mel?
Aye. And what ordinance number is that?
It'll be ordinance
Oh, thank you.
01707.
Thank you.
Okay, passes 6-0. Mr. Hawkins?
All right. The next item, which has been moved up in the batting order tonight, is a requested rezoning from property at 1401 Hogan Lane. The requested zoning, or the present zoning, is R1. Requested zoning is O1. And Mr. Mitch Hart has notified the Planning Department that he intends to appeal the Planning Commission's denial of his rezoning request at their meeting that was held November 21st, 2016. And Mr. Hart is here with us this evening, and a lot of you are here with us this evening, and we welcome all of you. I would ask that when you do speak, you identify yourself, and if you could hold your comments to 3 minutes or so, because we've got a lot of people, I think, that would like to say things this evening. Mr. Hart.
I have 3 minutes?
No.
You can take some time.
Oh, thank you, sir. My name is Mitch Hart. I live at 1401 Hogan Lane, Conway. I'm requesting to rezone my personal residence at 1401 Hogan Lane to O1 General Office, used to accommodate my real estate company and my real estate development companies. That's in my house. I do business in my house. Also have a shop at the very back. I've got a 20 by 30 square foot that's been of my shop that I do business out of. 20 by 30s, not a large area, and probably won't do a lot of business out of there, but that's what my request is. Additionally, I've requested a conditional use so I can continue to live in the house, okay? I'm gonna stay there as long as I can. I requested O1 with conditional use. There are different O1 zonings. There's an O1, O2, O3. I will leave it up to you. Here's what I need to do. I need to do business there as a real estate, do business there as a development company, and I want to stay there. So given those 3 requirements, you tell me, and I need to probably sell my house as an office at some point, professional office, okay? So that's what I need to get done. Whatever is least impactful on my neighbors, I'll leave that up to you. Y'all have a lot more expertise than I do. All right, I have a, I have an aerial here. We wait on Theo.
He's in court still.
He's in court still.
When does he get here?
He just texted me and said he didn't know.
Where's Wes?
He's sick.
Oh, no, we're not his keeper. I don't know where he is.
All right, my time just extended to Theo gets here. I apologize. No, this has been a horrible experience, by the way. So far, I'd rate this experience as awful. I'm having to deal with neighborhood issues and good neighbors, good people, and I don't want to hurt my neighbors. Mary, if I can, I would like to pick on you, okay, with your permission. Is that all right?
Right ahead.
All right. I want to go through the legal aspects of this rezoning, including the intent of the comprehensive plan, the intent of the original developers of Sunderland Park. I'd like to address my neighbors' concerns as presented at the November Planning Commission meeting. All the additional challenges of dealing with organized NIMBY neighbors who have real concerns that I respect. All right, I talked to Mary about dealing with worst case scenario is zoned R1 or office. I will deal with the perception and the reality of living next to a strip center. I've been there since '08. And I also like to deal with the precedent set by the rezoning requests along Hogle and a quick summary. All right. As far as the comprehensive plan goes, my property is considered part of a mixed-use transition district. It started back on July 11th, 1996, which allows office, multifamily, and limited commercial. The city that had a professional land planner that prepared plans. It was picked up in '96, my property was. In 2004, it remained the same, and then I think Brian does all the professional planning now, and I think it got picked up in '14. So per the comprehensive land use plan, they have, it was decided that my property was, I guess, could be used for office or multifamily in a transitional use area, which is important. All right, the intent of the Sunderland developers. The developers excluded Lot 99 Sunderland Park from the residential covenants. In addition to lots 1 and 2, lots 100, which is a strip center next to my house. I guess if you look at the aerial, there's a 28,000 square foot strip center that adjoins my property line. for 357 feet. The covenants were recorded. It was basically, Sunderland's basically a residential area. Residential uses. The covenants, the original developers, who I actually got a chance to talk to them about it. All right. They left my lot, they left 4 lots out of their covenant. Okay. Well, this was recorded. I'll pass this around. In June of 2000. It was, you'd have to have, the area of coverage was lots 3 through 98 of Sunderland Park. Okay, so they recorded that for public record. Also, they filed a plat for public record in 2000.
Mitch, when did you purchase the property?
When? I purchased the property in March of 2008. I owned it for 9 years and a months. All right, so the I didn't understand, you know, I knew when I bought it. By the way, I knew when I bought it that it was not in the covenant. You know, I understood that. I had a little bit of advantage because I'm in the business, right? I knew that it was on the comprehensive plan, which is probably, my neighbors are really smart, by the way, but they probably don't spend a lot of time going over the comprehensive plan like I have as part of my business. So I knew it was on the comprehensive plan. I knew what that meant, okay? So I knew all that when I purchased my property. I don't know what my neighbors knew. I don't know if they knew it was outside the covenant. I pray that they knew, you know, because if it was outside the covenant, it was not part of the subdivision, then, you know, that would kind of tip you off that it may change someday. That would be something, I think a normal resident, one of my neighbors, I figure most of them knew it. I don't know for sure, you have to ask them. But there's probably a good chance that they didn't hear it from me. They probably knew it a long time before this public hearing that my property was out of their covenant. You know, Mary, you mentioned that they went to public record and found out that it was R1. You know, this is all public record. I don't know if they probably have a copy of their covenant. They probably read their covenant. If I was a neighbor, I probably would have. And there's some things in the covenant, area coverage, when it says 3 through 98, I mean, you're missing lot numbers. It kind of tips you off that it's probably not, there's probably some lots missing, okay? And my lot's probably 5 times bigger than my neighbor's lots. It's like a sore thumb sticking out back there. I'm kind of a green space between neighborhood and, you know, strip center, 28,000 square feet. So I don't know if they questioned that when they purchased their properties that adjoin mine. I probably would have checked it out because my property is so much different than theirs, and that it probably, to me, it sent off a signal. I don't know if they did or not. I pray that they did. All right, I asked the developer, I said, did you accidentally leave this property out? You make a mistake. All he had to do was put 3 through 99. You wouldn't be hearing from me. He said, no. He said, we did it on purpose. I figured when I bought my property that probably someone else owned it, didn't want to put it in the covenant, but he said, no, the developers own the property. We made the decision. We decided that was a terrible place to put a house. So we knew from the beginning that your property, that property that I own now, would be obsolete as a residence at some point in the history, okay? Front's on Hogan Lane. It's next to a 28,000 square foot strip center with 2 full-scale restaurants and a full-scale branch bank, okay? So they knew it from the very beginning that at some point, they didn't know when, but the house I live in would be obsolete as a house, all right? So they made the decision from the very beginning that they were gonna leave that property out for that reason. They couldn't move the house because the house was there first, okay? They would have dealt with it differently if the house hadn't been there first, but my house was the first house built in that whole area. So it was the first thing to go up. It was a nice house, I lived in a nice house, but they couldn't move it. So that's That's the way that they dealt with it, and I knew it, okay? I knew it. When I bought the house, I knew that. I never could imagine a situation where I would need to rezone it for my office, but I knew it, okay? I knew that it could be rezoned because I knew it wasn't in the covenant. The neighbors' concerns as presented at the Planning Commission meeting, you know, they had, which I would like to address a few of them that I can. They had drainage issues if my property is ever redeveloped. We have, you know, site plan review that picks up drainage, and in reality, if that property ever gets developed because of the strict guidelines and the engineers, probably there'll be better drainage if it gets redeveloped, because the city will oversee that and make sure that they have a plan. There was concerns about the operating hours of my real estate company. I operate a small virtual real estate company. I've been working from home since the day I bought my house. We work virtually now. In 2008, I never could envision a scenario where all of our files would be in the cloud, that we would e-sign documents electronically. People don't come in the office anymore. I have very few that come in the office. Usually it's someone trying to sell me something as opposed to me trying to sell someone else something. So in 2008, I never could have dreamed that my industry would change this much, that everything's online, everything's by telephone. So I can't remember the last time that I had a client. I work every night, but I can't remember the last time a client came to my office after 6 o'clock, and very rarely on weekends. So there was a concern about loss of privacy in the backyards, their backyards. Oh, I'll try to respect that. Fortunately, if you look at the way the property is laid out, you know, there is privacy fences all the way around the outside, and my neighbor and I, they control their privacy fencing, okay? Additionally, they've all provided landscaping in their backyards, which is, they control that to some extent. Can I help that situation? Yes. I have a lot of landscaping on my property. I have a pool in my backyard, so I have 2 layers of fencing that help buffer from the neighbors. And can I do better? If this works out, yes, I can do better, and I'll get with my neighbors, and I'll see if we need to make any improvements. As the fence gets redone, I don't know, we might want to consider some adjustments to the fence, and I'll meet with neighbors to figure out what works for them. There was a noise concern. I worked in professional offices, and we don't have a lot of noise outside. You know, we get out of our cars and we go inside and we do all our business inside. So I don't know if we would make any additional noise other than a resident. There was some safety issues concerned. I don't know what safety issues would be in addition to more so than living there as a resident. Property values is a big concern for everyone, and that's a big concern for you. It's a big concern for me. Let me kind of tell you how that rolls out. I've had my property appraised 4 times. All right, that's my property. That's not their property. My appraisals, 2 in 08, 2 in 15. Well, they make lots of adjustments in value. I don't know if you understand appraisals. I don't even know why I'm handing this out, but they make adjustments anytime that they think that there is something that could affect the value of your property. They make an adjustment for it. If you have more bedrooms, less bedrooms than the other properties that they're comparing you to, they have more rooms or less rooms. They make adjustments. Like they made a $1,000 adjustment because I had more rooms than one of the compared properties. Okay, so the only reason I bring this up is they didn't make any adjustment on my personal residence because I live next to a 28,000 square foot strip center. You know, you wonder about that. So I called up. I have 4 appraisals. I called 3 appraisers, talked to 2, and said, "Why didn't you make a major adjustment for my house as a resident living next to a strip center?" And their opinion was, they said, "Well, because of the way your house is located, it's a good distance from the adjoining property. So we didn't feel like an adjustment was required here." for that issue, which it's kind of surprised me, but and that is, so I asked them straight up. I said, hey, do you think having an office in your backyard, you know, would necessarily create an issue with pricing for that house? Asking about my neighbors' houses. They did make an adjustment to mine. My house is obviously, I don't think there's any comparison here between a 28,000 square foot, 357 side yard sharing with a strip center versus, you know, my neighbors who would share roughly 100 feet behind privacy fences for an office environment. A total different deal. And the opinions, that's opinion of two appraisers was, we don't think it'll have a significant effect on their property values. I've talked to realtors, I'm in the business, I've talked to a dozen realtors, said, hey, what do you think about this? And they said their opinion was that it wouldn't have a significant effect on my neighbor's property values by having an office in their backyard, behind a privacy fence and screening. So for whatever it's worth, and I could have ordered an appraisal. You know, I know appraisers, and you know, it just wouldn't have worked. You know, I can't prove to you, I can't prove to them that whatever I do on my property will not affect theirs, value-wise. I can just show you what I know about my property, and I can tell you my opinion. And my hope and prayer is I don't do anything to affect their property values. That is not, my intent is to do everything I can do to keep that from happening. All right. You know, Joe's a personal friend of mine. I've known Joe since high school. Joe's a great, Joe Pruitt. He's my neighbor. He's also my neighbor in business. His office is across the street from mine. Great guy. I have a lot of respect for Joe. I don't want to do anything to hurt Joe. You know, he was able, the issue with my property, another issue I have is, you know, I don't think that at this point, you know, I knew that my property would be functionally obsolescent as a residence at some point. You know, I didn't know when that would be. You know, the traffic on Hogan, and since I've been there, has gone from 10 to 15,000. So, you know, most people don't want to live on a major arterial. I can say that most people don't want to live next to a 28,000 square foot strip center. How has anyone else ever lived next to a 28,000 square foot strip center? Does anyone? You know, it's just not a desired location for a house. They just got stuck there because it was the first property built, okay? But through this process of, you know, Joe had almost every neighbor in their subdivision signed a petition saying that I object to having an office in a backyard, okay? My house is about the same size as their houses, okay? They could buy my house if they wanted to. But if they object to having an office in their backyard, there's probably a pretty good chance that they're not going to want a 28,000 square foot strip center with 2 full-scale restaurants, service restaurants, and a full-service bank. So that told me enough, and that's enough marketing information from potential buyers of my house that they're not going to be interested in buying my house as a resident. So I'm going to accept that from here on. You know, I didn't know when the obsolescence would take effect, but I'm going to call it today. I just don't think I wouldn't mind selling my property. I don't know when I'm going to sell it. Don't have any interest in selling it. Hadn't had any offers on it. I hope to stay there. I love my house. Hope to stay there 5 or 10 years. Who knows? That's my current, where I'm at. All right. Dealing with, in this situation, they have invested a lot of money in their properties. They're concerned about what happens in their neighborhood. And I think it takes a higher bar, okay? Because of their concerns with their property. So I talked to Mary about it. We said, hey, what's the worst case scenarios? Give me some worst case for what you want to do. All right. So I will address worst case because I think with as many concerned neighbors as I have, it requires more than just it's on the plan. The initial intent was and everything else. So for you, I tried to do from a developer standpoint. I want to look at what's the worst case in R1. I'm currently R1.
Excuse me, Mitch.
Okay.
Give you about 4 more minutes.
4 minutes it is. The setbacks in R1 are as follows. It's 6 foot on the side, okay, setback in R1. You know, it's 10 feet or more in office environments, right? So the worst case scenario I could think of was I could build a 2-story shop 5 feet from the back property line in R1. How I could build a house up to 115,000, 2-story house anywhere on the property within 6 feet of the property line. How I could build up to 115,000 square foot house, believe it or not, 2-story. I could also redevelop the property into 5 or 10 residential lots with 2-story houses. So they could have 5 or 10 additional properties that adjoin their backyards that were 2-story, okay? I'm doing worst case here. So under office zoning, the worst case under O1 would be a bowling alley. All right. I'm gonna make a suggestion to the council tonight. That probably needs, I was shocked by that, by the way. I don't know if I'll end up with O1 or end up with anything, but that's probably more than needs to be in O1. I can't build a bowling alley on my property because it's not big enough. I know it won't go in there. Millennium Bowl is 3 acres. My property is 1.64 acres. We'll never see a bowling alley, but I think that probably needs to be adjusted, and I would recommend that they adjust that. You were concerned about a 2-story office building. Here's my thoughts on that. All right. I'm looking at Irby Drive to Dave Ward Drive, Hogan Lanes, 3 miles both sides. When you drive up and down there, you'll see approximately this 400,000 square feet of retail and office together. And to my knowledge, the only property along there that was 2-story was MBA Bank on the corner of Dave Ward Drive. Out of 400,000 square feet, they're about 5,000 or 6,000 square feet down there. They didn't have to be 2-story. Office hates 2-story. They don't want to have elevators. I have a really big lot, 1.64 acres. The probability of them building 2-story on my property is probably very, very minimal. I don't know of any office on Hogan Lane for the 3 miles that is 2-story office, by the way, as it exists today. It is a worst case scenario. The perception of reality, I love living in my house. You know, I don't think I could sell it as a residence. I'm the last property on Hogan that is a house facing directly on Hogan that's not zoned something else. I'm it. I'm the last one. I'd like to show you an aerial very quickly. You know, at this point, you know, people say, hey, you want to rezone it and sell it and make a bunch of money. My house appraised for $126 square foot. My office just appraised at $110. So by rezoning, it doesn't necessarily mean that, you know, I'm going to make a bunch of money on it, right? Because that's not the way the appraisal system works. I wanted to refer to 2 other rezoning requests that have occurred on Hogan. This one's down 3/4 of a mile south of my house.
Hey, Mitch, we're going to have to call time. Ms. Whitmore made my office aware earlier today that she would have to leave at 7:45. Alderman, I'm sorry. Yeah, you did. I'm correct. Alderman Jones.
Next to Chair Court.
Excuse me, Mitch. Alderman Jones is going to be working tonight. He's still in court, and Mr. Pruitt is sick. So we're going to have to, if we're going to be able to vote on this tonight, we're going to have to let the other people speak. So, all right.
That's fair. I'm done speaking. Okay. In conclusion.
Thank you.
I will try to be a very, very good neighbor. I think even better than before, based on, I'll try to work for my neighbor. I appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mitch. At this time, Mr. Hart's made his case. Is there anyone that would like to speak in opposition to this?
And I would suggest that we don't need to say the same thing twice, or 3 or 4 or 5 or 10, 20 times. Once somebody said something, that's should do.
Come on, Joe.
Joe, if you would try to limit to 3 minutes in case someone else wants to speak.
I think I can do it in 30 seconds.
All right.
First of all, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Joe Pruitt. I'm a neighbor, and I live in Sunderland Park. At this moment, I'd like to ask everyone from Sunderland Park subdivision to please stand that's here with us tonight.
Mayor Castleberry, City Council, I stand humbly before you. We've invested our lives' earnings in the homes that we have. Mr. Hart has said everything we needed to hear this evening. He bought the home to sell it, to make money on it, to prospect. That's not what we are about. Sunderland Park is an upscale neighborhood in West Conway. His home was zoned R1 in 1992. Mr. Crafton was one of the developers of that, Watson, Rankin, Crafton. They kept it R1. They could have changed it. When they developed the O2 that's there beside it. I'll quote one of the one of the planning commissioner members, and then I'll sit down. At the planning commission meeting, one of the planning commissioners, and I'm paraphrasing, said, "Mr. Hart, you're not trying to have a business on Hogan Lane. Sir, you're trying to have your business in the backyards of your residents, and that's unacceptable." Ladies and gentlemen, I'll step down and I'll let anyone else wants to speak. Thank you so much.
Would anyone else like to speak at this time? Yes. Yes.
Good evening. Appreciate you guys being here tonight, letting us listen. Joe asked me to speak after he did. Craig Cloud, 1230 Seabreeze Drive, Conway, Arkansas. It's weird being on this side, but anyway, I appreciate you, appreciate all the work that you do. Don't want to repeat anything that Joe said. I have a tremendous amount of respect for Mitch and his company and the work that he does, but obviously it's an appropriate land use issue when this property was developed. Many years ago in our subdivision, I was one of the first ones that moved into Sunderland Park. That lot, as well as the two adjacent lots on the north and west end of the subdivision that were not part of our covenant, were left R1 for a particular reason. And when this property was purchased back in 2008, it was purchased as residential property, and that is its intended use. And I would appreciate a favorable vote tonight from the council, and just respect and the fact that was original intent was R1. And when I served on the Planning Commission, we always thought twice or two times or many times about changing a designation, especially from a residential to any other designation, commercial, office, or otherwise. And I would hope that you guys would exercise that same diligence tonight. And again, I appreciate it. Thanks for the opportunity to be here, and I appreciate your work and everything you do. And I told the mayor I try not to let him down tonight. So,
would anyone else like to speak at this time? For or against? Yes.
My name is Dina Johnson. I live at 4210 Pergola Place, and I'm obviously against, okay? I sit right beside Mr. Hart's house. When I look out my window and have my coffee in the morning, Columbia, I look at where his faucet turns into his house. So I am that low to him. He purchased this house as R1. I purchased my house knowing that he was R1, and it was designed that way on purpose. He bought next to a strip mall. I didn't. And I don't think that the time has come for me to be next to the strip mall. He went to us and the Planning Commission asking to run an office out of the back of his shed. Okay, at the time he said he wasn't doing a virtual office. Now he says he has. If he's been doing this all this time, why does he actually need a space now? He did play his cards. He did admit that he had planned on, developing the property. When he first spoke, he said that he would eventually tear down that house and build an office. So if he plans on living in that house for the next 10 years, is he going to have to petition to be able to live in a rebuilt office? I don't think he's telling us the truth. And it's not fair that I would have to live next to a strip mall and they would have to look upon a strip mall. No matter how you look at this is bad business. I have life insurance in my house. My husband passed away, and that's my children's education money. I don't want to lose the money. I don't want my neighbors to be unsafe due to strange people running around. Also, there is a mortuary on that list. So please don't let him do this. If he doesn't want the property, have him sell it. Somebody would love to have all of those garages. And for once in my life, I'm keeping it under time period. Thank you very, very much. And please don't let him do this.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak? Come right ahead.
I'm Jody Cavanis. I live at 1415 Centennial Club Drive in Sunderland Park. And I won't go over everything that has been gone over, but I do agree with all of that. And then the other thing that came out to me tonight is that Mr. Hart has virtually told us that he plans to sell that property at some point in time. He is only morally obligated to these intentions that he has laid out for us here tonight. When he sells that, the new owner is not morally obligated to that anymore. He's only bound by the restrictions of the current zoning when he buys that property, and it could explode into almost anything at that point in time. So we would appreciate a favorable vote for 83 homeowners here rather than one businessman. Thank you.
Mr. Hawkins, Mrs.
Ms.
Whitmore,
Ms.
is out of town.
Isby, Ms.
Ms.
Isby
Isby,
has-
Ms. Isby, I'm sorry.
Something going on.
Anybody else want to speak in favor of it? Okay, well then, let me see if I can walk through this very quickly. I appreciate Mitch's issues he has to deal with here, but I don't think we need to change anything. And so if I can try to keep this, we always want to make a positive motion. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to move to approve this issue, and if it's not seconded, then the issue will die for lack of a second. So I move we approve this rezoning.
Well, I make a motion. Do you want to waive the
Waive the readings? I thought we
Yeah,
did
wait.
that.
No, the waive the readings.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to waive the readings. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I move to approve this rezoning.
Can I make a comment without making a second? Mr. Counsel?
Not for discussion right now.
Not for discussion. I withdraw my motion if you would like to make a comment.
I'd like to make a comment. I think that all of these people deserve to have a vote one way or another on this evening. That's my personal opinion.
Okay, well, then we need to,
wait,
we need to second the motion to approve and
That's
then
fine.
deny that motion to approve.
That's fine.
We don't need to make a motion not to approve and approve that.
That sounds
I
good.
move to approve this rezoning.
Second.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Nope, I'm sorry, did I mess up?
No. The motion is to approve the rezoning.
Yes.
All right.
Call.
Ms. Mel,
No.
Mr. Grimes,
No.
Ms. Isby,
No.
Mr. Ledbetter,
No.
Mr. Hawkins,
No.
Ms. Smith.
No.
Fails.
Okay.
Mayor, I'd like to add something.
Yes.
I was at the planning commission meeting when this came up, and I'd just like to say the planning commission did an excellent job of going over all of this, and did an excellent job on it, and I think they made the right recommendation at that time as well. I just want to note that.
Thank you, Mr. Ledbetter. So, motion fails 0-6, or
Yeah, that's
0-6. And I appreciate all y'all's time tonight. You're welcome to stay, or you can stay with us, or you can go home.
Sure they're one to stay.
Quick question before she leaves. We can't act on the ordinances without waiving it. Can we waive them as a blanket while she's still here and then vote on them?
Yes,
We can waive them as a blanket.
I think we can. I don't see any problem with
We've
that.
never done that before.
You're the attorney.
It's a novel question. I don't think it's a problem.
Yeah, we
I'm
can do that.
All right, I'll specify.
I mean, they've been published.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the issue with the readings are for
Because he,
notice.
it's 5-0, he can be the sixth vote to pass it, right?
Yes.
But he can't be the sixth, I mean, once she leaves, once
Ordinance,
away.
we only need a majority anyway, so
Yeah.
I think 5 passes ordinance.
Or even to waive it though, to waive the reading, I
To
think.
waive
it's
the
6.
readings, we have to have 6.
Right, okay. So I move that we waive the readings on A4, A8,
Appreciate them.
B1, B2, B3, B4, and B7.
I'll second that.
Second, yeah.
B2, which ones?
B2,
A4, A8,
B2.
B2, or B1, B2, B3, B4, B7.
And I seconded that.
okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes 6-0. All right, so we will go back
Start at the top.
to the
Mr.
top.
Hawkins, we're back at the top. You're back up to bat.
Okay, very good.
Thank you, Mr. Grimes.
Back at the top, Mr. Mayor, next item is resolution setting a public hearing to disclose or to discuss the closing of a portion of a 20-foot utility easement and drainage easement on Lot 17, Princeton Village PUD in the city of Conway. And this is set for February 14th, 2017, and it's resolution R-17-3.
I make a motion for adoption.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That's 5-0.
Next item, Mr. Mayor, is consideration to grant a right-of-way easement to Conway Corporation. And this is off the intersection of College and Salem Road. And Mr. Patrick, do you know about this one, or Mr. Vinson? Either guy. Thank you.
Is there any assume there's nobody here from Conway Corp tonight?
I didn't see.
Don't see anyone.
Okay.
Usually doesn't.
Conway Corp wants an easement on our property. And
Bluntly put.
Felicia texted me just a little while ago and asked if I had a problem with this, and I do not. With the exception of, the only thing I'll say is that we do own this property. I have no idea what the city plans to do with this property. We bought it, I think, mainly with the intention of building a roundabout. We knew we'd need a substantial portion of the corner. The only concern I have is that if we did choose to sell that property in the future, if anybody ever wanted to develop that corner and potentially maybe buy some of the other houses, there would then be a utility easement running through the center of said properties. Right now, it's not a problem because it's at the extremity of the property, but it would potentially limit conjoining with other properties for future development. I do think it's a good idea that we grant Conway Corporation some sort of easement there. It may be a better idea to move it to the extremity of the roundabout rather than the back of the property. But that doesn't really affect me. That's more of a land use issue. Brian may have more to say about that than I do. Throwing you under the bus.
This is all new to me.
Do you think we need to have somebody from Conway Corp here to represent to see what, if they're good with that and kosher? I mean, if that'll work out with everybody, or?
I would think so.
I
Sure.
would think we need to, yeah. We
I
don't.
move we hold this in committee.
Second.
Thank you, Chairman.
Yes, sir.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hold it in committee. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 5-0. Mr. Hawkins.
Next item, Mr. Mayor, is consideration to reappoint Cornell Maltbia to the Civil Service Commission. Mr. Maltbia is just finishing out a 6-year term, and Ms. Mabry Williams, you standing up. Would you like to say something?
I just wanted to reiterate what is in your memo
Okay.
in the packet. He has done an excellent job on the commission, and we would very much like to continue to have his expertise.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second for approval of Cornell Maltbia to the Civil Service Commission. Any more discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Mr. Hawkins, the next item up, I'm going to ask, do we table that?
On 4, or, okay.
We are looking at, we got to get you guys a better job description for this one.
Okay, all right. Make a motion or did you make
Yeah,
a motion?
I said so
Okay.
moved.
We get a second?
Nope.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to table this. Any more discussion? All approve, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 5-0.
Next item, Mr. Mayor, is consideration to rebid the remediation work project for the Conway scrap metal site. And Mr. Grummer is coming front and center. Good evening, Mr. Grummer.
Good evening. So we bid out this project back in November of last year. We had anticipated bringing it to City Council in December, but with the transition and with the review that we had to make, we needed a little bit more time. So after reviewing the bids, we realized in consulting with FTN, the engineering firm, as well as the street engineer, going through it, we realized that we left out a lot of different things that had uncertainties in the bid that caused escalated prices on the bid quote. For example, one of them was one of the line items that we got back was for clearing and finish seating, which came out to, on one was about $50,000, and the estimate was around $3,000. And partly that was because we didn't provide an exact amount of land area that we wanted that done on. So the recommendation is, based on the bid amounts that came back, which was excessive amount than what we had anticipated, to make the changes to the bid specs to provide unit prices and more specifics so that we can actually narrow it down to what we're looking at. One of the large uncertainties in the bid was storm water. If it rains, they have to capture the storm water on site and dispose of it properly because it's considered a hazard. And with that unknown, that caused some of the escalation. So we're looking at taking that and having them give us a unit price and then an estimated amount that they can bid. And then if it goes up, we just have the unit amount that we know that it'll go up. So it helps maintain that amount. We're not paying for something that we don't really, may not happen.
I'll make a motion that we rebid this.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to rebid I can't say the project. Any discussion? Remediation. I got it. If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Passes 5-0. Thank you, Scott. Mr. Hawkins.
Next item, Mr. Mayor, is consideration to approve transportation services agreement with Independent Living Services, Faulkner County Aging, or Faulkner County Council on Aging, and the Boys and Girls Club of Faulkner County. We have items amounting to $78,000 for the Boys and Girls Club. The amount is $37,000. That's trips on Clint's bunch. How much on your? $46,000, Clint, for yours. And Robert, let's see, yours is $69,000. No, did I get it wrong? I'm sorry. I got it. Gotcha.
Yeah.
78, 69 on.
69 on, yeah, the Council on Aging.
Would anybody like to talk about this since we are?
Pretty.
No? No, you can if you'd like. I mean, this is something that we do every year. This is money that comes every year and comes through here, and we're just approving transportation contracts that we do every year this time.
I make a motion for approval.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the transportation services for fiscal year 2017.
Mm-hmm.
Any more discussion?
Finley would like to say something, I think.
Mr. Finley.
I was just going to point out that I budgeted last year's amount, which is $164,000. So if you approve the requested amount, we'd need a budget appropriation to follow.
Just
the
like
difference.
164,
Just
the
the
difference
difference.
in, okay.
Yes, thank you.
That begs the question, we have more money out this year than we did last year.
Yes.
Do you have that number in your head?
Much more is it? Yeah.
Sorry.
We must add it up.
It was,
69. I don't know.
this year, the total was 177. 13,000.
Would that come out of the street budget?
It would. That's up to you,
But typically that's.
typically.
It takes-
In the past, in 2013 and preceding, it was, the entirety was always appropriated out of street fund reserve. In 2014, I started budgeting. I budgeted 140 in 14 and 15. The number went up to 164 in 16. I budgeted 164 this year, and now they're requesting 170. What did I say? 174? 77. Thank you.
And if you'll remind us that we need to make an adjustment in our budget.
Of course.
In your budget for that.
Of course.
Any further discussion? Okay, all approved, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 5-0.
Next item, Mr. Mayor, is consideration to approve a conditional use permit for Mount Carmel Community to allow a nursing home at property located at 2505 Salem Road. It's in an A1 district. This was reviewed by the Planning Commission at their meeting on January 17th of this year, and at that time, the commission voted 9-1, with Jerry Rye voting in opposition, that the request be forwarded to City Council with a recommendation of approval with some conditions. Right-of-way dedication at Salem and Meadow Lake. Proposed development shall be generally constructed as presented to the Planning Commission. Single ownership of all property and structures is required, and right-of-way from roundabout to access residual Irby property to the south and west for the city engineer specifications to be dedicated during plating and development review. And with that said, good evening.
Hey, how are you?
Good.
Jimmy Elrod with Mount Carmel Community. Just like the City Planning Commission, I'd like to clarify it's not a nursing home. It's a senior living community. It's 45 independent garden homes, a 75-unit assisted living, and with a portion of those being memory care within the main building. So maybe not a lot of difference to some people, but to us, a lot of difference. So
yeah.
I would clarify that. I could go into a lot of detail. He kind of nailed it. If you got questions or if you want me to go into detail, I can talk all night like some others. So you just tell me. You may have thoughts or questions that you need clarification on.
I make a motion we approve this conditional use permit.
Second.
Oh,
Well,
come on.
okay.
You're the spokesperson. I may need Finley's help, but, and I hate to spring this on the developers at the last minute, but at the Planning Commission meeting, our comprehensive plan shows a connection of some sorts, and it's usually a generalized concept, but it shows a connection across the Irby property to get to the rest of the Irby property. And I know Mr. Irby's selling the property to them and all that. But condition number 4 arose at the last minute, basically out of the engineering department, street department, looking at the comprehensive plan and the connectivity that's shown there. So what we're trying to do is number 1, get a right-of-way for roundabout there at Meadow Lake and Salem, because I believe everybody would totally agree that that's a perfect place for a roundabout. And
Yes.
And Ronnie Hawk could correct me if I'm wrong, he's not here, but my memory on that is that that was a federally funded project for the most part, and a roundabout would have been put into that. That was just kind of when we were discovering the joys of roundabout, and we would have put one in that project, except it was already so far down the line of development and so forth that it just would have thrown a monkey wrench into the whole thing to do that. But now, knowing that, and knowing that at the time, that's what we needed. So, and I don't believe there's any problem with getting the roundabout right away. But number 4 comes from that same concept, and if we do a roundabout there, we need some way to connect into the rest of the remainder of the property as shown on our comprehensive plan. And I don't know, we'll have to ask if you have any problems with number 4 as written, but I know, I believe Mr. Irby was going to visit some more about this, and I don't know if we need to hold this in committee, or I'm kind of at a loss myself on this because we're working through it, and I apologize for the last minute of working through this.
Can we leave it such that we let you work through what's best, or does it need to come back to us for approval? Let you and the property owner
I'm turning to the city engineer for help.
decide if y'all,
and developer
might
and
be a
whoever
good
else.
spot.
So,
I'll make a few statements, and then you can tell, maybe you can answer that question after.
and I've got some drawings if anybody needs to see them, but
Don't go far.
pretty basic at this point.
Mr. Irby is supposed to come to my office tomorrow to discuss the location of the roundabout and possible changes to the site plan to make it work better with the roundabout. Our concern is that if you were to look at the aerial with the plan on it, that's just preceding page A8, it's the second page after A7. If you can imagine a roundabout at the intersection that we're discussing, then the entrance to this facility is basically a leg off of the roundabout. But the problem is that the comprehensive plan calls for a public road that comes off that roundabout. And so there would be, under the current comprehensive plan, a public road that just splits right through the center of this development. And so our suggestion to Mr. Irby is going to be that he work with the party that he's selling the land to and try to get them to work out a site plan that shifts a little bit more northerly to allow the comprehensive plan to do what it needs to do. But I don't have a problem with conditional use. I just don't think the site plan works with the roundabout as it's drawn.
Why does it have to be a public road? There on that side.
Well, the comprehensive plan calls for it to go all the way to, what's the connection?
To Miller's View. Is what
Miller's View.
goes to the hill. Now how practical that is, I don't know.
It's maybe not that practical, but there are properties to the, what Mr. Irby's doing here, if he sells this land, is he landlocking himself? Because the access to the west is off of the old Salem Road, which you can just barely see on the left side of your paper there. And so there's a large portion of land there that has pretty poor access off of what is essentially just a small driveway that's a steep grade. And if I were Mr. Irby, I'd really rather have a road that led to that property, or at least a significant, it could maybe be just an access easement, but still an access easement cutting through this site plan as it's drawn doesn't work very well.
Jimmy, is this something you've heard before, or is this new to you?
Well, knowing there needed access to the back part of the property was presented last week.
Okay.
But we hadn't seen any drawings until about 2:30 or 3 o'clock this afternoon is when it was emailed. So our engineers, we hadn't had
What's your-
looked at it. I didn't know. Verbally, it was shared with me as I was driving up here tonight.
Yeah.
That what was being discussed, and I knew there was some issues. I didn't know there was as major as what he just described. So I think it really there'll have to be a lot more discussion before we.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how you want to do the conditional use permit.
Are you okay with holding on to this for a little bit and letting us get this worked out and then?
For Irby's sake and ours in the cities.
I think
we do what we need to do.
I think it'd be in everybody's best interest if you're in a position where you can hold on.
Where there's no sense of urgency on our part, but.
I'd say you just.
I hadn't seen it personally. I was driving. The way you described it, it's not feasible for us.
Yeah, I'd say you just answered our
You
question.
can't have a public road through.
Yeah, exactly. That.
Private, community.
I think it sounds like a great development, though.
Yeah, it does.
It's a great development.
Yeah, it really does sound good.
It really does sound like it.
It's one of these places I'm gonna need.
It's just trying to figure out, yeah. Yeah. And that's understandable. Was he concerned about that, since it's his property and he's selling that?
Well,
The Irby's are fine with tabling it,
Okay,
and they're really not worried about landlocking themselves.
they're not.
What they just said, so.
Oh, well,
Mary
we'll work it all out then and bring it back.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd say let's table this and hold it and let our people and y'all's people work this out.
There's no
and
sense of
come
urgency.
back.
We'd like to work through it a little bit more.
I'd like for you to do that.
Just want to be sure I know all the facts before we.
Yeah, I'll withdraw,
Okay.
yeah.
That is a motion to table it.
Ms. Smith is with.
I'm withdrawing my
sorry.
motion
Okay,
initially.
Okay.
So we have a motion to table.
Second.
Have a motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 5-0.
And Mr. Mayor, the final item on this portion of the agenda is an ordinance to rezone property at 129 Eve Lane. Presently, it is zoned A1. The requested zoning is to R1. This was reviewed by the Planning Commission January 17th of this year, and a unanimous 10-0 vote followed with a recommendation of approval for this, and I move that.
I didn't know we could vote on an ordinance.
I'm sorry?
On the ordinance itself. We just can't waive the reading, which is why we did that
Yeah.
early.
Yeah.
We waived the reading
For all of them, okay.
Yeah, we did. So, and it's ordinance 017, and I think it's 9.
Correct. So you got a motion.
Second, if you made a motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett, call the roll, please.
Ms. Mel?
Aye.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Grimes?
Aye.
Mr. Ledbetter?
Yes.
Mr. Hawkins?
Yes.
All right, passes 5-0. I think I'm up now, Mr. Hawkins, is that correct?
That's all I've done. It's your time now.
All right. Okay, we want to look at the consideration to enter into an agreement with the Conway Housing Authority for one fully equipped community policing officer from the Conway Police Department. Chief Spradlin?
We went to item
Hey,
five.
Mayor, we're on number one.
Yeah, we've got to start at
B1.
number one.
Okay, well, I did a lot of,
You just circle them because we waived the reading on
I
them
did,
already.
okay, so
That's
we go
what you
back.
did.
All right,
B1, yeah.
well, thank you. I'm still in my learning curve.
That's,
My apologies, Chief Spradlin.
We are too.
All right. Our first item is going to be from the Public Safety Committee. It's an ordinance appropriating funds for the repairs of Truck 1 for the Conway Fire Department. Chief Winter.
Yes, thank you. There actually is a mistake on that. It's not for Truck 1, it's for Engine 1.
Engine 1, okay.
That was my fault. We have received an insurance check. Engine 1 was involved in an accident. We repaired it, and we received an insurance check, and we're just asking for that to be put back into our account.
I make a motion for adoption.
Second.
What change?
We already wiped all the readings for the
Okay.
ordinances.
Before the mayor signs it.
All right, we have a motion and a second to waive the readings. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
they've been waived.
All
Yeah,
right.
we
Okay,
made a
just
motion for
minute, so I
adoption.
can get this point down.
Okay.
When we, before Miss Isby left, and we
Yes.
voted on all the ordinances.
Yes.
Yes.
So the ordinances have passed.
No, they've been, the readings have been waived.
Waived all readings.
Just the
So
readings.
then we go back and we vote on the ordinances.
Yes.
Then we ask for, that's
All right,
correct.
I am clear.
That's okay.
Thank you.
We'll discuss and make a motion to pass the ordinance and then vote on passing the ordinance.
Okay.
We'll
thank
make you a cheat sheet.
I need one.
Well, this was
We'll
a lot
make you
deal.
one.
It
Yeah,
was.
a deal.
I
Yeah,
don't
this,
remember us doing that before.
this is one I'm not sure I've seen in 24 years.
Me neither.
Well, it's a good one to learn on.
It
Yeah.
is.
Thank you.
Glad that you.
I made a motion for adoption.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Mr. Garrett.
Mr. Ledbetter?
Yes.
Mr. Hawkins?
Yes.
Ms. Mel?
Aye.
Mr. Grimes?
Aye.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Okay, it carries 5-0.
That was number 10.
Correct.
Ordinance
01710.
Okay, our next item is an ordinance accepting and appropriating grant and donation funds for the Conway Fire Department. Chief Winter.
Yes, we received a grant from SAMS for $1,500, 100% reimbursable grant. Also, we received a $236 donation from Fred's. We'd like to accept all this and use it to purchase foam.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Mr. Garrett.
Ms. Mel?
Aye.
Mr. Grimes?
Aye.
Mr. Ledbetter?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Hawkins?
Yes.
Okay, that carries 5-0. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Our next is an ordinance to purchase tasers and cartridges from Taser International for the Conway Police Department. Now you're up, Chief Spradlin.
Good evening. This is one of 2 or 3 annual ordinances that we deal with each year. The first one being for the purchase of 10 tasers, cartridges, and batteries, and also naming Taser International as a sole source provider for taser purchases. They are the only law enforcement grade electronic control device that is available. So we're asking that they be named a sole source provider for us.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Mr. Garrett, what ordinance number will this be?
01712.
Mr. Garrett, would you call the roll, please?
Ms. Mel?
Aye.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Ledbetter?
Yes.
Mr. Hawkins?
Yes.
Mr. Grimes?
Aye.
Passes 5-0. Next item is an ordinance to purchase concealment vest from Tico Safety for the Conway Police Department. Chief Spradlin.
Yes, we are due to replace 17 bulletproof vests, bullet-resistant vests, I should say, this year. We have used Tico Safety for the last several years. They're the sole source vendor for point-blank concealment vests in the state, and we're asked to continue them as a sole source provider for our vests.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Ordinance number, Mr. Garrett.
The 01713.
Call the roll, please.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Hawkins?
Yes.
Ms. Mel?
Aye.
Mr. Ledbetter?
Yes.
Mr. Grimes?
Aye.
Passes 5-0. The next item is consideration to an agreement with the Conway Housing Authority for one fully equipped community policing officer from the Conway Police Department. Chief Spradlin.
Yeah, this is just a renewal of an annual contract that we've had for many, many years. Exchange for police officer, and they will pay us a sum of $37,000 for this year.
Make a motion, we enter into this agreement.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Ordinance number, Mr. Garrett.
Not gonna be an ordinance, Mr. Mayor, just call for the vote there.
All right. All
All in favor?
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All in, against, say nay. All right. The next item is consideration to retire a K-9 dog and remove from the city's inventory for the Conway Police Department. Yeah, you may have seen that we had to retire K-9 Chewy in December last year, December 14th, I believe is when it was. He is 9 going on 10 years old. He just got old. And it hurts for him to come to work. He's had some medical issues, so we've had to retire him. And we're asking to take him off the city inventory and also turn all responsibilities over to Officer Matt Edgman. He's willing to take him in as his forever home. Good.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes 5-0. 5-0, excuse me. 5-0. Okay, next item is a ordinance to appropriate funds to provide the diversity training for the Conway Police and Fire Departments. Chief Spradlin, Chief Winter, you're up.
We met, Mayor Castleberry put us in contact with Charlotte Strickland at UCA. I think most of you probably know her. And we talked to her in depth about a diversity training for the police and fire department. For the police department, it had been over 8 years since we've had diversity training, and I probably don't have to explain the benefits of what diversity training means to us, not only working with each other, but especially dealing with the public and how we communicate with them. This was not a budgeted item in the 2017 budget. It will be mandatory training for our department, for the police department. You're looking at 127 officers. It will take quite a few sessions to get them through, and we're asking for the money be appropriated for that training, to give us that training.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Hey, Jody, will that come out of both of y'all's budgets, or how are we doing?
I think it comes out of the fund.
General
It's
fund?
kind of general fund is
General
what the
fund,
ordinance
okay.
says.
All righty.
All right, Mr. Garrett.
This be ordinance 01714. Ms. Mel?
Aye.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Grimes?
Aye.
Mr. Ledbetter?
Yes.
Mr. Hawkins?
Yes. All right, well, thank y'all for helping me struggle through that tonight. Before we adjourn, and I will need Mr. Clausen tell me if I can do this. This is not an item or any item that needs any action tonight. We've just had a lot of concerns about Oak Street and Dave Ward and the lights, and I asked Mr. Vincent to give y'all a 2-minute breakdown on our issues there.
So, Oak Street and Dave Ward, just 2 separate projects. We've had, in my office, a lot of complaints about both of those interchanges, so I offered to give a brief update. Dave Ward and Exchange, unfortunately, I don't have very good news for Dave Ward, basically west of the freeway. It's oversaturated. The traffic impact report that I received from the Highway Department showed that intersection that Exchange would be at a level of service D immediately upon the Lewis Crossing development opening, and I think that was conservative. I think it's actually F, because the roundabout is operating better than their model showed. The good news that I do have for you there is that we won a grant last year for an adaptive signal system for all of Dave Ward Drive, and that should go live this year. I'm going to do everything I can to get that active before Thanksgiving, so that it'll be better for Christmas this year than it was, or next year than it was this year. So that's Dave Ward. On Oak Street, as you know, as you can tell, the contractor's still working out there. They're still trying to get Central Landing Boulevard open. The contractor's in liquidated damages. He was supposed to be done by the end of the year. He's close. Rogers Group is scheduled to pave tomorrow. Once they get that paved and striped, then I can start counting the intersections and work towards getting a new signal timing plan implemented. And I hope to have a new plan implemented there within a couple of months. It'll start getting better as soon as the contractor's done and I take back over control of the cabinet. And then as I get new plans implemented, it'll get better and better. I hope to apply for a grant for Oak Street and get an adaptive signal system there, hopefully in 2018 or 19. Dave Ward Drive is going to be one of the first adaptive signal systems in the state, or at least that's state funded, and I hope it goes well, and that's going to be my number 2.
So has Highway Department ever looked at doing anything else on Oak? where the lights are going out to Conway Commons?
I know
We've talked
that,
about it in the past, but.
I know that Mayor Townsell had requested roundabouts in several locations, and those requests were frowned upon by the department. Yes, ma'am.
How
By
soon
the
will
highway department?
overpass?
Yes, the highway department didn't approve of the roundabouts.
Have they been down Oak Street? And-
Now with Dick's
Yeah,
success and the
yeah.
new ones on Day of War, maybe they'll have a change of heart about how good they work.
Perhaps.
I hope. It's a
Perhaps.
mess out there.
You know, Tab always talked about the way you relieve congestion on Oak is to expand Stephen Morgan to where more traffic can flow down Stephen Morgan more easily, and that relieves pressure off Oak.
Well, maybe once the improvements are done there, it will be 100 times better.
And the new overpass is stopped.
The new overpass is waiting. They can't start construction on the east side of the overpass until they get the southern leg of the roundabout built, and then they can close the existing Amity Road, which is kind of a temporary road now, and the traffic will actually go up and over the roundabout. Once they can close that temporary road, then we'll start construction on the east side
Oh, that's
of the
right, 'cause
bridge.
you can't be building.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And that should happen soon. It's all kind of dependent on weather, but I hope to see that paved in February.
I have a friend that comes out from Saltillo into town, and he said the roundabouts, it's 100 times better. He's thrilled over the improvements.
On Dave Ward,
Mhm.
largest roundabouts in the state.
And it's going like clockwork every time I go by there, so it's great.
Thank you all for taking a few minutes to, we're
Thank
hearing,
you.
we're hearing a lot of concerns, and so I wanted y'all to hear them too. Take a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion second, we adjourn. Boy Scouts of America, thank you for being here tonight.